In case you didn't know, Spoonflower now sells pre-made home goods like bedding and placemats to those customers who may not be so handy with a sewing machine. This is really great news because it expands our customer base. Also, I've made a few home goods sales, and the really great thing about it is that some customers go and buy a whole matching set of items. So you'll often make more money than from the average fabric purchase. So today I'm going to share with you some tips for selling your home decor on Spoonflower. So I found most of these tips on Spoonflower's related blog, which is linked below, but I've also added some additional information from my own personal experience. So first things first, you're still going to need to start by uploading your pattern design onto Spoonflower and then proofing it. If you need help with the basics, you can watch my video on how to get your repeating pattern from Illustrator onto Spoonflower. And so when you're initially proofing your designs, I would personally recommend that you start with a maybe slightly smaller scale design that would look good on a large range of items like clothing or quilting, because once you get your design proofed, you can then immediately make it for sale. So you want to proof it in the scale you think will have the most traction, which at least for my designs is often a slightly smaller scale. But then once you've proofed your designs, you can select up to 10 of your designs per week and submit them to Spoonflower in a larger scale and have them approved without needing to proof again. I don't personally make all of my designs available in different scales, and sometimes I wait to see which designs are selling better or which designs I just think are going to sell well, because I don't want to completely flood my shop with multiple versions of the same pattern. So when you're getting ready to sell bedding in particular, just, if you want to sell placemats or napkins, they might actually look better in the smaller scale. But bedding in particular, you probably want a larger scale than you're using for your designs, unless maybe perhaps you're a wallpaper designer, then maybe your designs are already at the scale that would look good on bedding. Now, in Spoonflower's article about this, they shared some tips on the type of scale you might want to consider for your bedding. They used this rainbow motif, and they noted that the rainbow in the image on the bedding was 12 inches or about a foot, in other words, a little less than a third of a meter, and that the pattern repeated every 24 inches or 2 feet, or in other words, about 2/3 of a meter. You can use this as an average for your reference, but of course, once you scale up your design in Photoshop or Illustrator or whatever program you're using, you're going to want to then go get it up onto Spoonflower and then check the View All Products tab and get a look to see how it looks on the mock-up, to see if you think it'll be a good scale before you go around to asking Spoonflower to approve your scale up request, because it's a little time consuming to do that. And you probably don't want to have 10 versions, 10 different scales of the same pattern, right? You probably just want at maximum a large scale, a medium scale, and a ditzy size. So you want to look first before you get it approved and see if you think it looks good on the mock-up. So the next step, once you have your designs, maybe you've picked your 10 best designs and you've gotten them scaled up to the bedding size. And remember, you want to add some tags. So for me, I went and for the designs that I scaled up to the bedding size, I made sure to put bedding in the tags. This also means if someone searches your shop for bedding, then the designs that look good on bedding will come up. But the other thing you want to do to make sure that people know that your designs are for sale on bedding is probably to create some sort of social media post of some kind. Of course, that's what we usually do. Although obviously there's word of mouth and all kinds of other ways. I've talked on this channel before about how Spoonflower as compared to Redbubble and Society6 has been a really great source of passive income because I haven't really needed to rely as much on advertising. Spoonflower has really done the legwork, and I've managed to get sales even for designs that I've done absolutely no advertising for. For bedding and for home goods, although I've also had some home decor sales without advertising, you might want to think about doing a little extra legwork. While Spoonflower is fairly well known among sewists, the site is not as well known among the customer base that you might have for something like bedding. People that aren't as into crafts and might be more into, might just be a regular consumer who's looking for a duvet cover. So in order for people to know about your designs, you might want to consider doing a social media post if you're into that. And to do that, you want to first get a mock-up of the design on the item that you're planning to sell. Now, some of the items, like I mentioned, like a placemat, will look good in the smaller size, and so I'm not going to talk about that in this episode because I just want to focus on the unique features of making your patterns for sale on home goods like bedding. So I'm going to just kind of focus on bedding. So you'll want to go and get a mock-up. You can either make this yourself, or Spoonflower makes it thankfully really easy for us by providing some pretty good quality mock-ups. But I would recommend don't just go and screenshot or take a, don't just right click on anywhere on the site that's showing your items on bedding, because some of the images you're going to get are lower resolution and aren't going to look good. And the blog makes this clear too, and I checked it out and it's true. You'll want to go to the main product page, and I'm just showing you here. Go to the main product page and then right click and download that mock-up if you're not making your own. And then you can download that. I just usually save it to my desktop and then file it away later. So do that. And here I'm just showing you on my Monstera leaf pattern, which continues to be a trending design. And so I recently scaled this design up for bedding. I also have it available in smaller scales and one other colorway. And I always think the same thing for colorways as with the scales. I generally do not have more than 2 colorways unless it's a really popular design or I'm having a really tough time deciding between a couple of colors and I've proofed it anyway, and then at that point I think I might as well have both for sale. I think the maximum colorways I've had for any design is 4, and I really do think that that's probably a bit much, but as I said, once I've paid to proof it, I kind of have a hard time deciding to take it down. So I think 2 to 3 colorways is probably the maximum, and then again, maybe 4 if it's a really popular design. Okay, so once you have your mock-up, Spoonflower has done something really nice, and they make available overlays. These not only look professional, but also the benefit is that it really emphasizes that this product is for sale and where it is for sale, right? If you just do a mock-up of your design on a dress, for example, people might just think you're just posting, an example or a mock-up that you just made of something that they could make out of it. But even if they're aware it's for sale, it doesn't automatically convey where to go to get it for sale. So these overlays are really great, and I'm linking below where you can go to download them. So the link I'm making is especially for home goods, and it's available in both a PSD file for Photoshop or a PNG, which you can use with so many different programs. And so besides having it in 2 different formats, you can also use the overlay in the size of an Instagram post or of an Instagram story. Now, I noticed that they do not have a Facebook overlay, right? There's not a Facebook post size overlay, and I think this really says something about the popularity of Facebook. I've talked about it before on this channel that, Facebook is really suffering in terms of certain demographics, and while I had luck in the past with Facebook for my Society 6 and Redbubble, I've been having a hard time with sales. But I have also let my Instagram go a little bit by the wayside. So I did decide to check to see if they had a Facebook overlay, and they did not appear to, at least not for the home goods. And I went and played around with it, and the overlay that they had, when I scaled it up, it covered a little bit too much of the image for Facebook. I could still use it, but it didn't look fantastic. In fact, even the overlay they have, if you use it on the mock-up for the bedding, I think it covers a little bit too much. I think it would look better if you could see the bottom of the bedding, because I think aesthetically it would look a little nicer. But anyway, at least, you know, you can play around with it if you want, but at least they're here. So my favorite program to use for just like quick and dirty Instagram posts is Canva. I have Canva Pro, but you can do so much with the free version. It's what got me hooked. And so you just go to Canva, you just, you know, drag and drop that mock-up that you downloaded, you drag and drop the overlay. You can try to, you know, I moved it down a little to try to get a little bit more of the bedding. Still covers up a little bit too much in my mind, but you know, it looks pretty good. And there you go. You can just download that and you have it. But there's one extra thing to consider. Even if people see your post and they realize that you have bedding for sale on Spoonflower, they still don't have a direct link on Instagram to get to that particular design and that particular item, right? So, you know, you don't want to make it harder for a potential customer to just see the design on the bedding and say, yes, I want that duvet cover, I'm going right there. So this is where something like Linktree comes in handy. I just use the free version at this point, frankly. And I always have my Spoonflower shop along with my Society 6, the YouTube channel. You know, I have all of my main sites in my Linktree so that people can link from my bio and get to everything. It's multi-purpose. But of course, I'm not linking to every product. That would be ridiculous. Could you imagine? I mean, you know, there'd be hundreds or literally thousands to every product and every design. So you probably don't want to do that. But if you are doing a post of a specific design, my suggestion is, and what I did, is to go into your Linktree or whatever, you know, link in bio service you're using. I know there are others, but Linktree is just popular and the free version works just fine. And you can go in, and I put it at the top, and I just did featured design, and then I linked directly not only to the pattern but to the page to buy the exact item shown, which is the duvet cover. So, you know, I put featured design and I put it right on top, and then later when I make a different post, I can just go in and delete that and create a different featured design, so that if someone sees an old post, then yes, they can just still access my Spoonflower shop and go hunting around for it. But if they're seeing my post right when it's posted, which frankly is when most people are seeing it, or they don't see it at all, they can go link in bio, and then the first thing they're gonna see is featured design and link right to that. So it's pretty effective. And just to make this a little more clear, I decided to use Canva's features, and I just went in there and added some text, link in bio, right on there. So it's super clear, you know, the post conveys everything you want it to. Your designs are for sale on Spoonflower, on bedding, and there is a link in the bio. You can always add some extra text to your post, and of course you do want to add text, but because a lot of people don't read Instagram posts, they just look at the picture, it's good to have anything essential on the picture itself. And then you just want to add some relevant hashtags so that some people that are interested in that particular design might see it. I've talked about this before with you guys, is that, you know, a lot of my Instagram is other artists versus my Facebook, which is more just general people I know who might be more of a general consumer than my fellow artists and pattern design enthusiasts. I mean, yeah, I'd be really grateful if you guys went and bought my pattern, but I'm sort of more expecting that, you know, the people buying my patterns are not people making their own patterns, but you never know. So you want to add some extra hashtags. Again, Instagram, like Facebook, I mean, the two are related, right? Is suffering a little, and the use of the hashtag has really changed and it's not necessarily as effective as it used to be. I have heard from a lot of the YouTube channels that I have been feverishly watching about Instagram now that I've decided to kind of try to resurrect it a bit, that Instagram does not want you to put a bunch of hashtags, and actually 3 to 5 is better than a lot, or they might consider it spammy. So I try to stick to that lately, just maybe 3 to 5 hashtags and see what happens. So you stick that, have the post, it's good to go. Because I have been neglecting my Instagram and because of my audience being mostly other artists, I don't know how this post is going to go, but I was interested in just trying using the overlays. As I said, it didn't look as good on Facebook, so I thought, why not try it for Instagram? Why not check it out and show you guys the process, so that some of you that might be a more visual learner, or maybe you didn't see the blog on Spoonflower, that you could use this information and then I could give you just an example. So I put this post up the day that I'm filming this, which is about a week before you're seeing it. I don't know how it's gonna go. If you wanna know how it goes, subscribe. And for those of you that know me, you'll know that I will share how it went, good or bad. Subscribe. And for those of you who have been following this channel, you know that I share my mistakes, what works and what doesn't. So eventually, when I'm doing one of those episodes on what's working for sales, I'll let you know how these Instagram posts are going for me. But really, I'd also like to know, have you tried using Spoonflower's overlays? How are your home goods sales? Do you have any tips you'd like to share with everyone here? Or do you have any other questions you'd like answered? Even if I can't answer it, I've been really working to get other artists on this channel, and some of you saw that I had a children's book illustrator on here, but I want to get some Spoonflower artists on here as well to share some tips and insights for people who might be even further along in this journey for me. So please feel free in the comments to just ask any questions or share any insights. And until next time, keep creating.